Hello, prompt masters and prompt wizards. Today I'm here to reveal a secret to you that will change your prompting forever. This isn't another video about a magic formula where you can go and find great templates for your context. This is a new approach called the prompt synergy system. And it's about the art of learning to communicate with ChatGPT and prompting at a meta level. Most people have their focus on getting the perfect prompt to get perfect answers. So that's where we get the term garbage in, garbage out. So the pressure is on you to create a great prompt to get a great answer. But with the prompt synergy system, we actually take a step back and the focus is not on a perfect prompt, it's on the perfect context. It's about managing context. So we take a step back and we have a conversation about the conversation. It might sound tricky, but by the end of the video, you'll understand what I mean. So what we have currently mainly is formulas, right? So you go onto YouTube.
Task, context, exemplars, persona, which are task, context, exemplar, persona. 5 parts of this perfect prompt.
And you get advice for using this formula for your prompting. So, for example, let's say I want to plan a wedding and I'm going to use the formula to get this great prompt to give me a great answer for planning my wedding, right? So let's say, for example, I have context. So now I have to come up with all the context of the wedding, this, and that. Then I have, for example, role. So I have to think who would be the best person to help me plan this wedding. And then I have to think of the task, well, all the things that are necessary to be done for this wedding. This is a lot of work. This is a lot of pressure being put on you. The point of artificial intelligence is to help you see what you can't see, help you make these decisions. And that's what meta level is all about. It's about guiding ChatGPT to suggest and reveal to you the best options for you in your context, removing the guesswork and coming into precision. It actually makes everything more simple. It's like a painting. Instead of focusing on each brushstroke, you're visualizing the whole masterpiece. And you feed off ChatGPT's context, and he feeds off your context. Let's get into explaining the core concepts, the bones of the prompt synergy system. I like to explain it with the following metaphor, the metaphor of a painter. So the three concepts are meta frames, frames, and chat map. So the chat map is the canvas. The meta frame is the visions and desires the artist has. Then we have the frames, which is what goes on to the canvas. So it's the colors, the type of painting you're using, the perspective you use, the style, etc. Frames are the specifics of a certain meta frame. And all those specifics that go on to the canvas, the chat map, is what ChatGPT sees when he gives you his answers. Now, let's get to it and I'm going to show you the example. I want to plan a budget-friendly wedding. So how are most people going to approach this prompt? They're going to make the assumption that you have to give as much context and detail as possible. That you have to be very specific about the task or tasks you're going to ask ChatGPT, format, persona, etc. But let's go with the first command in synergy prompting. Give me relevant meta frames. So what are we asking ChatGPT? So our vision and desire is to plan a budget-friendly wedding. So we are asking ChatGPT that considering that our vision and desire is to plan a budget-friendly wedding, what other visions and desires should I be taking into account? What other vision and desires I might be interested in? So basically, I've given him a context and he's given me all the relevant context he thinks to my initial context. Here we have a list of 20 relevant meta frames. In essence, we have 20 contexts that are related to that initial context we gave in the first prompt. I want you to note that we could have elaborated more context in the first prompt and the relevant meta frames would have been more specific to that initial prompt. What's special about this list? Well, first of all, many of these contexts, if you never prepared a wedding, you wouldn't even have thought about. Also, this is giving us structure, so we can work through different meta frames at different moments. Also, it allows us to personalize because maybe there's context we want to work with and context we don't want to work with. When you are given relevant meta frames, what you have done is brought to the forefront of ChatGPT relevant context. So you have primed him. His attention now is on all of these meta frames, and at the tip of his tongue, all the specifics of each meta frame. This is very powerful. But not just that, because you can prime him towards where you want, because you can choose a selection of meta frames. You could choose all of the meta frames. You could choose one meta frame. The possibilities are infinite. That is the prompt synergy system. We show ways in how to manage all of the meta frames. So remember, we have frames. Frames are specifics of meta frames. So each meta frame has its specific frames within it. So sometimes we're going to work from meta frames, but depending on our needs and requirements, we might ask for frames. So here we see how we're going into the specifics of MetaFrame 5, affordable catering. I see you have an interest in frame 1, Buffett style, so I prompt by selecting that frame. As I'm looking to give more relevant context of my situation, I ask for relevant questions. As this is just a demonstration, I asked ChatGPT to answer the questions for me, and this is an example of how you prime through managing context with the system. Let's go with another example. Bear in mind, it's impossible with a few examples to show all the variables and ways to prompt using metaframes and frames. Here we can see how we can structure and organize complex projects, a structure that facilitates workflow and priming. Best suited personas is another feature of synergy prompting, again an example of how to work as a team with AI. By asking for a rating, we clarify quickly what needs to be done, priming for future prompts. In synergy prompting, ratings play a big role. And actually, a good prompt here instead would have been, how can I make each frame a 10? The final example is how to set up an assistant or manager that can give you highly contextualized answers. So for those of you who have found this intriguing, I've created a free custom GPT called Context Creator, so you can dive into using metaframes and frames just like we do in the prompt synergy system, so you can create and shape your ideal context every single time. So if you want to dive deeper into what is synergy prompting, I'm going to leave in the description a link to my book, The Prompt Synergy System. There is many more features. It goes much deeper into what is all meta prompting, etc. And for the next video, let's talk about chat maps. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned, subscribe, and see you later, prompt masters.